Hi guys, today I want to help you answer one question. LG G4 or Nexus 5X? I got this question asked way more often than expected and I wasn't really happy with the written reply that I did every time. So I hope this quick video will help. Okay, let's start off. Design and build quality. If you want the more compact phone, of course, go for the Nexus 5X, but if size is no matter for you, go for the G4. And overall, it feels just a little bit more premium, way more organic and comfortable in the hand, so overall, it definitely wins for me. And you have the option for the leather bags that should make it even feel more so premium. So definitely here the winner for me. Not that the Nexus 5X feels bad, but in a side-by-side comparison here, it just wins. Now about the display. Many people say they are very close, but I actually see a noticeable difference. The LG G4 has the way better blacks, better contrast and just a little bit more saturated, overall nicer color balance. Where the Nexus 5X has the slightly washed out colors and a little bit more IPS glow. Of course, since it's a Nexus device, you can use a custom kernel and just fix that, tweak a little bit in the color calibration, and you could get it quite similar, but I think just in terms of the sheer quality on its own of the panel, I think the G4 does a way better job, especially for me, someone who likes an AMOLED display. The almost AMOLED blacks level are what makes the win for me, and it's overall a really nice display. Maybe not as bright as the Nexus 5X, but gets the job totally done. In terms of sound, I actually give the G4 the win because it sounded a little bit more rich, a little bit louder, a little bit muffled though as well, but the Nexus 5X just felt too flat, too shallow. We have the front-facing one-sided speaker that does a quite solid job, but it just sounds a little bit too flat. Maybe the good thing here on the G4 is that it's backfiring and can use your hand to reflect. Without the reflection, the sound isn't that great, but it still overall is the better one just in terms of that. Now, in terms of performance here, we have the same SoC, Snapdragon 808, but I think due to the stock Android and slightly better optimization, the Nexus 5X wins here. It feels a lot smoother, but don't forget one thing, the G4 has 3 GB of RAM and I think that's why it could be a little bit more future-proof because the multitasking is noticeably better here. So if you want a smoother, maybe slightly faster device, go for the 5X, but if a little bit less smoothness is okay for you, but therefore you want more multitasking capabilities, then definitely go for the G4 after all. Now in terms of battery life, they were quite similar, but I think from my experience from the time I used it, the Nexus 5X did a little bit of a better job. For me, I just didn't get the great results that I saw on many people's reviews. There, the G4 would have won, but for me it was a little bit weaker because I didn't even reach 4 hours, where I could reach a little bit more than 4 hours sometimes on the 5X. Both have decent battery life, not really great anymore, get the job done, but since we are talking about the comparison between these two, I think the Nexus 5X wins by a slight margin. Now, the software here. I think it's an easy win if you want stock Android, if you want the fastest updates, and if you want great custom ROM support, then the Nexus 5X wins hands down. But if you just want a stock experience with a little bit more features, then I think actually the G4 doesn't make a bad job because I like the LG UI because it has a lot nice options like customizable navbar settings, the quick settings are customizable. Okay, the look isn't everyone's first choice, but I think it makes a totally fine job. And if I would have to choose to stay stock, not mod anything, I would maybe even go for the G4. Of course, we don't have the fastest updates, but recently I think LG caught up quite nicely, and delivers one of the fastest updates. Of course, still far away from a Nexus, but still not bad. Now, the last thing would be to talk about the camera. If you would ask most people, I would think they say the G4 has the way better camera, but for me, the 5X along with the 6P has the easier experience because you don't really have to fiddle around so much. You can just point and shoot and you get pretty much always a good result. So I definitely like the 5X camera a lot. Of course, if you're a little bit more into manual controls and want a little bit more flexibility, the G4 camera software offers a little bit more. And most people would still agree that it is the better camera, but for someone like me, who just wants a solid top-notch picture, also video qualities, but doesn't want to really think a lot about it, I actually would maybe even go for the 5X camera because I really like that one a lot. So now in the end, this question was very legit. I got asked it a lot of times because both phones are very similar in price by these days. Both at around, I would say around 300. Of course, it always depends on the region, but I wouldn't have been asked this question so many times if they wouldn't be so close. So I think if you just are looking for the best bang for your buck, go for the G4 because it, after all, has 3 GB of RAM. It has the SD card slot. It has a slightly better screen, has the removable battery, so it will hold up for longer. So on the long term, it looks a little bit more future-proof, SD card, removable battery and all that. But if you want something now really good, 2 GB of RAM are good enough for you in terms of multitasking and so on. You don't have to have the best screen in terms of calibration unless you maybe want to use a custom kernel. And then if you want to use custom ROMs, then the Nexus 5X is the win to go. And it's a really hard choice. And every time I get asked this question, I always say, wow, this is a tough one, because of all the phone comparisons that I will do in the next few days, similar ones like this one is definitely the toughest choice. And that's why I wanted to start with that, because these two have so high qualities, capabilities, and they are so close to each other that the choice is more of a personal preference than anything. If you are a stock Android lover, then of course you will get the Nexus. But if you're just a normal person who wants the best bang for your buck, then maybe this video helped you and I gave you all the information. So I hope this helped. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of that, just subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. And I hope I was of help for you. Okay, until next time, bye.